And now, the survival show that once survived a sinus infection. It's terrible. In this episode, we talk about guns, flashlights, knives, and tactical bags. You guessed it! It's the annual I2H Super Random Prepper Gear Extravaganza episode. Howdy, and welcome to the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 253. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the Rabbit Hole. Safe and sound. Before we jump into today's episode, there are a few quick announcements. May 7th, again, May 7th, will be the last full episode until September 10th. That's right, I2H is going on summer break, but fear not, those of you who are new here to the Roving Horde, there will be lots of summer short episodes. Every year, around this time, I2H takes a break. We recharge our prepper batteries, we go fishing, we have drinks with friends, we, set things on fire, whatever. And then, come fall, we come back. But in the meantime, there are short episodes so we don't leave you hanging all summer without anything. I was hoping to make the break start at the end of May, but I got to admit, I really need the time off. We've had a rather large and very unexpected family event happen. I will fill you all in about it later, but it's put me in a new, strange stage of life, and there are a lot of matters that need to be addressed. More on all of this later. I'm not really ready to share it just yet. Anyway, the show will go on break May 7th. The I2H summer short episodes will start and be every 2 weeks. Then, season 8 of I2H will begin September 10th. With that out of the way, let's talk about gear. This time around, I have a follow-up that I want to start with, and that is the KKM barrel. I believe I spoke about it in the last super random annual gear episode that we did. And at that time, maybe I had 1,000 rounds to it or 2,000 rounds to it. I'm not really sure. But, I've now had another year to play with it. I've put through, I believe it's another 6,000 or 7,000 rounds since then. And I have not had a single failure. I love this barrel. It holds up like a champ. It eats anything I feed it. It really does perform better than the factory Glock barrel. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with the factory Glock barrel. I would happily pop this barrel out and put my Glock barrel back in. Well, maybe not happily, but I would do it and be totally comfortable with it. The downside is that the thread protector keeps coming loose after I shoot about 5 or 6 rounds. It never comes off all the way, but it drives me absolutely nuts. Their answer to it was to put a little bit of Loctite on it. I can't remember, is it blue or I can never remember if it's blue or red, but they said the less strong of the two. They said put a little of that on it, fix it. I haven't done that yet. It kind of I just don't want to do it. It bugs me, but I think I'm going to have to at some point because it bugs me a whole lot more that the thing comes loose every time I shoot it. Why do I have a thread protector? Well, because it is a threaded barrel for a suppressor. And that's the main reason I even bought the barrel to begin with. And I knew a few other people who had Storm Lakes. And I thought, well, I know people who have Storm Lakes and they like them, but I want something different. I'm going to go try this KKM barrel I keep reading about. And I'm really glad I did. Other than the thread protector thing, this barrel is awesome. I love it. I would use it for any other pistol barrels that I wanted to swap out. Next up is, it's something a little bit different. It's sgammo.com. This isn't gear, but it is where I've been getting all my bullets to feed my KKM and my other range babies. Hold on for a second. This is not a commercial. I get nothing for mentioning SG. I just really like this company. I've been using them for years now. And I like them so much, I figured I'd mention it. And it's funny, somebody else that's a much bigger shooter than I am, literally and figuratively, that I just thought, this is somebody who knows everything and anything going on in the gun world and anybody who's anybody. And I got a message from them recently and they're like, have you heard of this website? It's amazing. And I was like, dude, yeah, I've been shopping there for years. Things I like. One of the biggest things that I really like about them is that I can buy ammo by the actual case. This, it's not like the ammo companies who say, you can buy bulk ammo, but then you gotta like hit the cart like 10 times to like get it up in there and hope you're not pushing some limit. These guys, 1 second you see like, oh, okay, there's the normal box of 25s offensive ammo. Oh, and there's the 1,000-round case of defensive ammo, or there's the half case of 500, and I have to hit it once. And they do usually have ceilings on how many of the cases you can order, but it's like 10, 15. I mean, it's pretty awesome. The other thing that's really cool is if they're out of stock on something, they usually fill it really fast. And even if they don't, they have a system where you can get notified without even getting on their mailing list, for those of you who are weird about that. But you can put in your email address to get notifications of when that comes back in stock. And, if we're going through an ammo shortage or something like that, of course, you've got to be paying attention to your email and you got to jump on there quickly and get what you want. But even then, they usually get so much freaking ammo in stock that you got a little bit of time. They even had a lot of stuff when no one else did during the big ammo shortage a couple of years ago. The only thing they didn't have was 22. But even then, I think they started bringing in Eli and some other stuff to kind of fill the gaps when they could. The really great thing about that is when there are ammo shortages or when there's a particular brand and stock number, whatever, of ammo that you want, you just put it in there and you don't have to keep checking the site. They'll just tell you. It's super convenient. Again, this is not a commercial. I just like these guys and I think they do a really good business. And it's been so great to use them ever since I found them. The other thing, shipping. Really fast. Usually, if there's some kind of craziness going on, there's a couple of day delay, but man, usually even when they say there's a delay on the website, I've placed an order and then a couple hours later, I've gotten a notification that my package will be going out the next morning. So it's fast shipping. They have never, ever messed up an order. And I can't even say that about Amazon. I have never gotten anything wrong with any of my orders from them. And even one thing that it didn't happen to me, but it happened to somebody else. They had bought a case or maybe 2 cases of 300 blackout, premium 300 blackout. So we're talking about some real money here. SG actually worked really hard to resolve the situation and get replacement cases of ammo to that person. Now you're thinking, oh, okay, well, that just sounds like customer service. Actually, usually that's not the company's responsibility. You have to go deal with UPS or FedEx to resolve that. But in this case, SG Ammo was like, no, you know what? We'll make the phone calls. We'll get it sorted out for you, and we'll get fresh cases in the mail for you today. And it was wow, okay, cool. So there's that. Dislikes. The only thing I dislike, they're from Oklahoma. You know how those Okies are. I'm looking at you, Jay. I'm looking at you too, Dave. But I'm really looking at you, Jay. Next up. Boosie SWAT Mandu. This is my first Boosie. For those who are not familiar, they are a premium high-end knife maker. And many of the knives that you actually see on The Walking Dead are Boosie knives, including Daryl's big-ass Gemini knife that he wields around on that. They make some really nice, really cool high-end stuff. Things I like about this knife. Their proprietary funky steel takes and holds a great edge. I haven't gotten to like really try to abuse this thing, like, drive it through a cinder block or anything, but for the stuff that I have been able to do to it, it's held up just fine. And it's been, wow, a really impressive knife, which, these are, for those of you who are familiar with them, these are not cheap knives. They're not the crazy $1,000 an inch stuff, but, you're paying $350 for a knife. The other thing that I like is the size and geometry of the SWAT Mandu in particular. There's another model that's almost identical. It's the geometry and everything is the Rat Mandu. I think it's just kind of a print. It's hard to describe. They have a weird thing with the way their company is broke up. One is like their premium logo, I don't know, whatever and then the other one is they let the interns do it. I don't know the difference between the Rat and then the Boosie. It's whatever. But I'm going on a little bit. The size and geometry make it excellent as an outdoor belt knife. I freaking love the size of this thing, and the geometry is perfect. It's a clip point, which is weird for me. I usually like drop points more, but I find this is great. I may like a drop point better, but I think that I enjoy this even though it's a clip point. And the next big thing is they have nice big choils, which are perfect for choking up on a knife and doing finer detailed work. Dislikes. Everything they do is a freaking special run. So you have to get it when it comes out, and you usually have to sign up for the wait list. And then you usually get it, I think it's like 3 months later or something like that. Once they've filled the orders, maybe it's a month later. I'm not really sure. It was a weird deal and I jumped in on it. The only other time you can actually buy these knives is people will go on and they'll buy them. And then usually 2 months or 3 months later, you'll start seeing them show up on eBay or on the knife forums. And of course, it's at some inflated price. It's just, it is what it is. It's dealing with their company. I don't get it. I get it in part. There's a marketing shtick to it. I get it. Fine. But oh God, I wish they would just make a few knives that were staple knives, like the SWAT man do, and just keep them around all the time. If they did, even with this price, I probably would have actually bought a second one just as a backup. I like this knife that much. I get the hysteria of the people who really love them now. I think it's a really cool knife. Next up is it's a bag. We all love our bags. Maxpedition Valance 7-liter. This is a new direction for Maxpedition. It's a bag that does not look tactical, which is why I bought the bag. The build quality is very nice. The details are generally really well thought on this bag. It's, if you like Maxpedition, it's a Maxpedition bag. It just doesn't look tactical, and the bag is it's a rectangle. It's not really a messenger bag or anything like that. It just looks like, I don't know, a big rectangular loaf of bread or loaf of cornbread maybe, which is exactly what I needed. I wanted something that was very small, not tactical, that could hold my gun, hold an extra flashlight, hold my Leatherman, hold a few other odds and ends, and my laptop. In general, I don't wag around very much stuff. I have a few EDC items, and then if I need to go somewhere, I need to carry my laptop, and that's it. Sometimes I'll throw in a hoodie or something, and that's about it. And for me, this bag was perfect for that. However, so I carry a MacBook Air, which is very small, thin MacBook, and it's just a little bit bigger it's bigger than an iPad by a couple of inches, but not much. And I did find that while I can jam my MacBook Air into the sleeve, and close it, it really was a wrestling match. And still is a wrestling match every time to get my laptop into it. In retrospect, I wish I'd gone with the 10-liter instead. But I was hell-bent on I wanted the smallest thing I possibly could that I could still get my laptop in at the time. Things I dislike. It's weird. The interior of the bag just doesn't feel as well thought out as Maxpedition stuff usually is. Typically, their stuff has lots of organization pockets and is really well thought out. And there's typically nothing goofy going on in the back where you're just like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, it's like you open it and you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. Like, oh, that's clever. I get it. No, this one on the inside was kind of, this is weird. An example of that would be, there are these pockets. So there's basically 2 zippers on the bag. And then on the front of the bag, there's one zipper, and when you unzip it, there's this flap that comes out, and then you can kind of get to the smaller, more organized part of the bag. The problem is there are pockets that, as long as the zipper is zipped, the pockets face straight up. These pockets are on that flap. Well, but this flap zips down all the way, which means then the flap falls down. And if there's anything in those pockets and none of them close or seal up, it dumps out all on the ground. So there are two of the pockets have these straps that you can put over it. So if you're going to carry like a small hard drive or something, it's good. Or I guess if you're going to carry a deck of cards or something in there, it wouldn't fall out. But if you want to put stuff in it, and it's a small bag, so you really need to be able to put stuff anywhere. You can't put it in any of those pockets without the stuff dumping out. I think I've got like my flashlight in it, and I've got my Leatherman in it in those pockets, and I have a little tracking device in the bag, and I have to be careful because even with the clips, sometimes stuff just dumps out. Or the rest of that pocket doesn't really have any big pockets, or it's just there's. I don't know how to describe it. It's hard to do on an audio show. I'm making all these hand motions and you can't see what the hell I'm talking about. But just take it from me. It's a really cool bag. I just feel like they could have spent a little more time thinking through the interior of the bag. And I think one of the other things is, and I've talked about it in the past, like I have a Sitka sling bag from them. I love that bag. It's so well thought out and it's so well organized and it has a good bottle holder and all this other stuff. It just looks tactical from the outside. And if they had made that bag and without the straps and molly and other stuff on it and in a color other than black or green, then I probably would have bought that bag. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. We're going to take a quick break for this message. Listener, do you get at least $3 a month worth of value out of ITRH? You should see what we do for the ITRH Roving Horde Armada members. Check it out today by visiting itrh.net. Members receive access to the private ITRH Armada Slack app group where they get to connect, get questions answered, share alerts and news, and shenanigans. Twice a month, members get on a private video chat. We discuss guns, mead, news, and other matters, and the things you just can't talk about with anyone else. In-person meetups in some areas. Access to every episode ever produced by ITRH, including one that was never aired. Big discounts to the ITRH gear store and participating vendors. And that's just to name a few things you get with your membership when you go to itrh.net and become part of the Roving Horde Armada. In the Rabbit Hole is mostly kept on the air and supported by members just like you. Go to itrh.net to find out more and become part of the ITRH Roving Horde Armada. And hey, speaking of the gear store, In the Rabbit Hole is now selling survival gear on the site. You can get there by going to intherabbithole.com/shop. But this isn't just a bunch of junk. I'm hand selecting and stocking the store with the best gear. And every month, we're adding new products. Go to intherabbithole.com/shop. Again, that's intherabbithole.com/shop. Now, back to the episode. And buying another Maxpedition bag meant, especially one with a concealment pocket for my gun, meant I needed another Velcroed holster I could stuff down in there. Maxpedition came out with, they've been out with it for a little while now. I just didn't know it because I didn't need another Velcro holster free inside the bag kind of thing going on there. But they came out with a new one, and it's got a little mag holder loop on it, which is really cool. So the things I like about that is actually the build quality is improved. So I have one of the older Maxpedition Velcro slot funky origami holsters in my Sitka bag. And between the two, I even pulled them out and looked at it. I was like, wow, actually, and it's subtle, but it's there. The build quality is actually better, which is unusual. Usually things get worse, but this actually got better. The other things I like about it, it's really easy to adjust if you're familiar with the other origami Velcro holster thing. This one works exactly the same. The difference is it's the addition of a loop that sits in front of the gun where you can put in, it's an elastic loop, and you can put in a mag, and the elastic is wide enough and strong enough that it actually does really hold on to that extra magazine. And that's nice because that was always an aggravation for me with the Sitka and the old holster in that bag, was that I had to take up one of my other pockets or something hold on to the magazine so I didn't have just this magazine wandering around loose in my bag. So it's right there. You grab the gun, you grab the other mag if you need it, and it's awesome. I like it. Dislikes, none. It's cool. I'd get another one if I needed another one. Next up, as long as we're talking about magazines, the Magpul Glock 19 mags. I can't remember if I talked about these last year or not, but again, I've had another year. I think at the time, about a year ago, I bought, or whenever they came out, I bought, I don't know, 8 of them or something. And since then, I've run all those 7,000 rounds or whatever it was that I've run through my Glock 19. I've been using these Magpul Glock mags. Things I like about them. It's $16 a magazine as opposed to $24 a magazine. And, that's not a lot of money, but when you're buying 8 or a dozen magazines, that's more money that could have been spent on ammo. So that's really cool. That's the price difference actually does make a pretty big difference on that one. They're well built. I've had no issues. They don't have the metal spine like a Glock does, which I was a little concerned about. I was like, well, it won't be as rigid. It won't be as good. It's been, they have worked like champs. The other thing I like about them, and if you're a Glock owner, you know what I'm talking about, or a Glock owner who's ever tried to take the base plate off a magazine before, trying to take the stupid base plates off a Glock magazine is a pain in the ass. And you feel like you're going to destroy the magazine, and you do end up kind of tearing up the magazine a little bit when taking off the base plate. It's usually not a big deal, but it's still just like, I'm marring my stuff. So it's never been a good design. Magpul totally fixed that. It is super easy to take that base plate off, and you don't need special tools and weirdness and all this other stuff. It just comes off and it just goes right back on. No muss, no fuss. I love it. The other thing, they have orange followers, and yeah, it's a visibility thing. You can look at your mag and see that your mag's empty. It's honestly for me, it's not that big a deal. But it is cool, and it's a good thought. It's like somebody sat down and really thought about this and said, let's make a good magazine. Let's make a really good magazine. Let's just not make a magazine that just works. Like, let's think about this. And that's how I feel about these Magpul Glock 19 mags. Dislikes? None, really. Moving on to my more expensive purchase in this last year. So I went on a thing, and I think we've talked about it in a few episodes, where I put my safe on a diet, and I wanted to downsize. I wanted to get rid of a lot of the things in my safe. Not all of them, but what I just wanted a very simple battery. And my thought was, why don't I put this safe on a diet? I'll get rid of some of the guns that I don't shoot anymore or have never shot very much, that are just taking up space. They can go find a new home where somebody will love them and care for them more than I have. And I can then roll that money that comes out of these old guns into one big gun that will be my premium rifle, we'll say. And so that's what I did. I sold off 3 of my rifles, and I ended up going in on a Lewis Machine & Tool MWS. This is not a cheap rifle. This was a $3,600. The MSRP on this is $3,600. I did not pay $3,600. I ended up buying the rifle used, and crazy enough, the person had never shot it. And I'm just like, how do you buy a rifle like this and not even shoot it once? What's the matter with you? But they'd never shot it. It was a safe queen, and they wanted to get rid of it at a really good price, and I wanted to buy it at a really good price. So it worked out well. But anyway, so let's get into it. Things I like. How about half MOA with Hornady Black? And that's with the rifle not even really broken in yet, or at least the last time I was doing that, the rifle wasn't even broken in yet. That's half MOA out of a semi-automatic rifle, which you're like, for that kind of money, Aaron, I should sure heck hope so. But yeah, I was hopeful. I'd heard good things about them. They are the dedicated marksman rifle of the British military, as last I checked. So yeah, they're good rifles, but I was not quite expecting that kind of accuracy, and not really expecting that kind of accuracy with store-bought ammo and without even being really broken in yet. So the next thing, and this is really just cool, it is a monolithic upper, which means The upper receiver and the handguard are all one piece of milled aluminum, or whatever. I'm assuming it's aluminum. We'll go with aluminum for the moment. That means the entire upper, super rigid. It's all one piece. You don't have all these other pieces and parts. It's just there. And it's just clean and sexy. And I love it. The other thing that is super cool is that the barrel is its own, the barrel, the gas block, and the gas tube are one assembly. And there are two bolts about where the front end of the rifle and the upper receiver would typically meet. Two bolts, one comes all the way out, one comes halfway out, and the barrel, gas block, and gas tube all slide out in one piece. It takes like 30 seconds. You do have to do it with a torque wrench set exactly to 140 inch-pounds to take the barrel out and to correctly put the barrel back in again. And you'd think like getting the barrel in there, no, not hard. I tried it a few times, came right out, came right back in, crank down the torque wrench again. And the first time with a little bit of pucker, worrying about breaking the thing, and it all just like a champ and kept popping off half MOA rounds. It was MWS usually comes with its own torque wrench. The one that came with mine, somebody blew their nose on it or something, which is, like it's a family expression. Tissue. You blow your nose and you throw away tissue. Think of it that way. I don't know what the heck happened to it. So I had to buy another one, but it was fine because I bought a nicer one. So what's up? Now why? That sounds convenient and everything, but you're like, I don't take the barrel out that often of my gun. I mean, I don't. Okay, why is this a big deal? You can, well, smart on their part. You can buy more barrels. Shocking. You can buy more barrels and you can swap out the barrels and change them in this weapons system with several other 30 caliber casing cartridges. So 6.5 Creedmoor, 243 Wen, 260 Remington, 338 Federal, 7mm 08 Remington. Basically, all I got to do is call up Lewis Machine and Tool, LMT for short, or any of their stocking dealers and be like, I want a barrel that's 6.5 Creedmoor. And I can swap out with, a minute's worth of effort and my handy torque wrench. I can swap out to a 6.5 Creedmoor. Haven't done it yet, but 6.5 Creedmoor is the new sexy. I may do it at some point. I don't know. The DMR stock, the dedicated marksman stock, is just like the Magpul PRS stock, but somehow a little bit nicer. It's hard to describe how. It's just the build just feels nicer. Everything's just a little smoother and a little nicer. Yeah, that wasn't very descriptive of me, but it is just nicer. The next thing I really liked about this rifle is I had a weird issue with the extractor, and I'm still not 100% sure what was going on, but basically I pulled the bolt apart, pulled the extractor out, cleaned it up really well, cleaned out the bolt really well, put it back in, and it started extracting again like a champ. But in between, when it was working and not working, I did call customer service because I was going to order another extractor. And I also wanted to talk to them about the issue I was experiencing since the rifle wasn't even fully broken in yet. And I was like, for this kind of rifle, this should not be happening. This is another thing. The customer service was awesome. I talked to a tech. I talked to, the receptionist. I talked to somebody else in parts. I talked to like 5 people there while I was on the phone. I never had to hold for anything. Everyone was super warm and friendly and helpful and just knew exactly what they were talking about. Except one thing that was just weird, but it was a non-issue. But anyway, I got done with the phone call. I was like, God, I kind of want to go work there. Those people all sound great. Like, these are people you'd want to go see at work every day. The second thing it made me want to do was it made me want to buy another one of the rifles. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon because, again, expensive rifles. But, if I'm in the market, I'm going to be buying another rifle for them. It was like the customer service really was that good. And you just don't experience that anymore, right? Dislikes. The LMT MWS, their AR-10, is a heavy girl. She's a bit on the weighty side. It's a little more than, say, like the Daniel Defense AR-10s. They tend to be pretty light, and a few others. it's not, this is not like a gun you really want to rock, but it is what it is. So the other thing is, this is an expensive rifle and the parts are really expensive. When I ordered that other extractor, it was $65. So yeah, parts not cheap if you want extras. So yeah. The other thing that I had an issue with was the cheek plate on that dedicated marksman stock doesn't come far enough forward. For some reason, it just kind of cuts off flat, whereas opposed to like the Magpul PRS angles forward a little bit, and it gives you a little more room. I don't know if I have a long neck or what the deal is, but for some, like, I just can't get it quite perfect. Everything on the stock is adjustable. So the comb of the stock goes up and down and everything else. It just doesn't go backwards and forwards. So I'm left kind of with this just feeling like, I wish I had just a little bit more. Next up, well, got a new rifle and I sold 3 other rifles to build up this thing. So, I need some new glass. So I put a Night Force SHV 4 to 14 by 50 millimeter f1 rifle scope. It's a long thing to get out, right? This glass really is kind of the minimum you would want to put on a rifle like that if I was going to try to start going out to 1,000 yards or 800 yards or anything like that with it. And I wanted really good glass for seeing that distance. This one is considered kind of the, in that world of optics, it's the base. And so that's what I went with it. Wow, for base, it was certainly not a base price tag, right? Things I liked. Crystal clear. Beautiful, beautiful glass. It's like, wonderful. The other thing that's cool is that it has an illuminated reticle, and it's not the entire reticle, it's just the center of the crosshair, which is just really nice. And it's adjustable. You can turn it way down, you can turn it way up. Totally up to you. The extra 4X this is my first 14. Usually almost everything I've ever had is either a 1 to 6 or maybe a 3 to 9. I've never done the 4 to 14 range. The extra 4, though, I have found to be very handy out past 200 yards. I don't really need the spotting scope to see what's going on when I look out at the target at like 300 yards or something. It's a bit of a strain, but I can see what's going on. So it's nice. The next thing, it's because it's an illuminated reticle, it needs a battery, but it doesn't take a weird battery that's a pain in the ass to find. It takes the 2032 coin battery or, button battery or whatever it is. The little bitty ones, and they're all in almost everyone's car alarm remote, and you can find them at any freaking store. My aim point takes the same one. My car alarm actually does take the same one, and several other things I have around here take that same battery. So it's nice. It wasn't another battery that I had to keep up with and stock in my prepper stuff. Dislikes. This was actually hard. I had to sit and think about it. I was like, there's got to be something about this I don't really like. And the only thing that I've really found that I'm like, about, and this is so minor, it's the off position on the illuminated dial is less positive than I would like. It's kind of, as you go between the different illuminations, you get into the half mark, and that's where you turn, and it turns off. So you could just leave it at you could be using it at an intensity of 6 and put it at 6.5, and it would turn it off. But it's just kind of mushy. It's not very positive. And there's been several instances where I've left the thing on much longer than I intended to because I didn't realize I'd turned it too far, and actually just turned it back on, but turned it up a level. So fortunately, these batteries tend to last a really long time, so it wasn't a big deal, and I keep a lot of them around. But if I had to find something I was going to complain about in this rifle scope, it would be that. Next up, I needed a scope mount, so I went with the American Defense Recon 30mm QD scope mount with 2-inch offset. There's not a whole lot you can really say about scope mounts other than the build quality is really good. It's a really good, sturdy, well-built scope mount. I liked it. I like it a lot. I have had some weird issues, and it was mostly just adjusting the throw levers correctly, because I had one throw lever. It's got 2 on it. I had one throw lever that wanted to keep coming loose about every 20 rounds through the rifle. And I finally figured out, oh, well, I needed to, I actually had the adjustment too tight and I needed to loosen it up a little bit. So, but that was the only weird thing about it. Other than that, it's like, okay, it's scope out. It's a good scope mount. It's well built. I really like their stuff. If I was going to buy any more scope mounts, I probably would buy more American Defense scope mount. They're really good. So you get a rifle like this and you're going to need a bipod. So yeah, I went looking for a bipod. This is my first bipod. I've never put a bipod on anything before. I looked at the Harris bipods and I just kept thinking, they work. They're okay. People like them. But I mean, Lucy, she's kind of an expensive girl. I feel like there's got to be something a little nicer. And that are always the words that come out of my mouth right before I get myself into trouble. So I found another bipod that is a step up, and that would be the Atlas PRS bipod. And I didn't even buy the most expensive one I had. It's about $100 more than the Harris, which, you're thinking, it's $100, still you're in the $250 range. And it's like, well, but it's like, oh God, that's like twice the amount of like the nicest other bipod that everybody else uses. I got to say, I'm glad I bought it. There was somebody else who shall remain nameless who was egging me on to buy this stupid thing. And I was just like, gosh, it's nice. And it's just so clean and well crafted. And so, I like it. And they kept egging me on. And apparently they liked it enough that after playing with mine a few times, they decided to get one of their own. So it really is that good. They are built like tanks. They're sturdy. They don't have any external springs and weird angles and flanges and things to get caught on crap. The one in particular that I bought has a quick release throw lever that is an American Defense attachment that comes with it. And it's really nice and it hangs on there. I did not have a problem with the throw lever on that I had with the scope mount, and the legs are adjustable as far as height adjustable. They have these rings and you just kind of press down on the rings and then the legs expand out. It's all just really well made and crafted. There's no springs on it on the outside to be just weird. And I know I'm being vain about the whole thing, but I just hated the way those springs on the Harris look. And these have these just buttons and you press in the buttons and the gears and it just pops out and it clicks and it's just deep, firm click. And it's nice and I like it. It also has an angle adjustment, which is cool because, if you're shooting on a hill or something and you want to adjust the angle. Things I don't like about it. Nothing. I'm glad I spent the extra money. And given the level of this rifle, I think it was a smart choice to make. If I had to do it all over again, I would totally do it all over again. And I think it speaks to something that the person egging me on that thought they were being funny ended up talking themselves into one too. Next up, the Olight S1R Baton Turbo S. Another thing with a long name. Things I like about it. These things are so cool. And even somebody that bought one from the gear shop recently, Florida Hillbilly, sent me a message and said, this, actually, I cannot repeat what he actually said. There was lots of foul language in it. And, but let's just say he really liked that light. What's so great about them? Small. They're really lightweight. They're about as thick as a Marks-a-Lot marker, one of those permanent markers, and about 2.5 inches long. So they're not AAA small, but they're small enough that they make for a really great EDC light. I love mine. And obviously the Florida Hillbilly seems to have really liked his too. They are powerful as all get out. I think they max out at 900 lumens and they throw light visibly up to about 140 meters, maybe 145. Actually, I think the specs are 145 meters precisely. The other thing that's cool is they come with a magnetic charger. So you can charge the battery without removing the battery and it just plugs into USB. And then it's got this cool little LED light that's built into right where the cord meets the little charger do job. And when it's charging, it's red. And when it's not charging, when it's full, it's green, which is nice. It's like, well, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? No, it's still red. Oh, look at that. Charges pretty quickly too. I've liked these so much that it's become my EDC, but it's also like, even my mom carries one. She freaking loves hers. And, She's not really a prepper or anything. She's not really big into EDC stuff, but she's like, this is awesome. I love this. So dislikes, none. Really, I love this light. It's the reason I stock them in the gear shop now. And it's one of the reasons I stock Olight stuff. I love their stuff and they make good things. And this light in particular is a really cool EDC light. And I would tell you it is an awesome light, even if we didn't have them there. So yeah, if you're looking for a light, go check it out. Last, but most certainly not least, the biggest piece of gear that I have purchased this year is the Tactical Weimaraner 2.0 alert system. Likes. She's awfully friendly and a huge cuddle bug. She's very silly and she makes me laugh. She's always available for a head pat when I'm having a stressful day. She is a larger lass who scares the crap out of people who ring my doorbell when I am trying to record an episode. It's very handy. Dislikes. She gets under my desk and farts while I'm recording. It's like clockwork. And then it slowly wafts out from underneath my desk for a few minutes while I'm trying to keep a straight face and hold my concentration and pretend like the most, or maybe not the most, but the second most offensive odor I've ever experienced is not assaulting my nose. Reminder, May 7th will be the last full episode of this season. Then I2H Summer Shorts will start every 2 weeks. And then Season 8 of In the Rabbit Hole will begin September 10th. Show notes from this episode, links to everything talked about, well, except the Tactical Weimaraner, and other resources can be found by going to intherabbithole.com/E253. Support the show and get I2H Roving Horde Armada members-only benefits. Go to I2H.net to become part of the Roving Horde Armada. Twice a month, members get private virtual hangs. These are a chance to hang out with me and other like-minded everyday preppers that are just like you to discuss whatever is on your mind. You know, the things you just can't talk about with anybody else, because they don't wear the same kind of tinfoil you do. Get discounts to the I2H Gear Shop and participating vendors. You also get access to every episode I2H has ever made. The on-demand bug-out bag class, special prepper spreadsheets, and an invitation to the secret I2H Slack group. And that's just to name a few things you get when you go to I2H.net to become part of the Roving Horde Armada. Again, that's I2H.net to find out about exclusive members-only benefits and become part of the Roving Horde Armada. With that, we wrap up episode number 253 from the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.